Guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
And good evening, everyone, or whatever time you're listening to this during the day. Welcome to today's issue, or today's episode of the American Awakening Bergy-Bit edition. Today's episode is, and I got a nice little whiteboard up there now so I can help maybe keep these things a little more in order. It's called Dreams and Lies. And have faith. The collective unconscious will protect the righteous. I can't quote hardly anything out of the Bible, but I'm a witness for the last several years of some of the most unexplainable miracles. I rarely talk about them. I talk about some, others I don't, because it would take focus off of the actual mission. I'm just, take me for whatever you want on that one. I've seen some amazing things, my friends. I can't deny the miracles. If you think you're getting away with something by hearing or knowing what your place is, your responsibility, your ethical and moral responsibility, and you go against that, I think you're going to be in for a very rude awakening. You need to think again, my friends. What I wanted to do tonight, which these are just going to, I want to try to keep these short, right? So what I wanted to do, I just cut that right down quick. But what I wanted to do is I found this to be a very intriguing video by Dr. Jordan Peterson. Let me bring this up here real quick. Let's see if I can do this without really screwing up like I did the other day. And right there. And so I wanted to take a moment. Put that better there. I wanted to take a moment. What you should do, the title of this is called, "This is Why Most People Are Lazy and Unmotivated in Life." Now, it is one of the most important, really, videos I think anyone can listen to, because what it does is it really explains, it helps explain on a very understandable level our purpose of, the purpose of ethics and morality, right? And the decisions that we have to make every day with those. Let me go ahead and play this. It's maybe 1 or 2 minutes. It's by Jordan Peterson and Lewis Howes. You can Google that. And again, I can't recommend the entire interview. It's 2 hours and 22 minutes long. I was listening to it on my way back from North Carolina yesterday. And it made me think of this, and this part really stuck out to me. It's maybe a minute and a half, I think, maybe 2 minutes.
So I look and I think, well, I'm writing something. Why? Well, I want to figure out this problem. I want to think about this problem. Why? Well, it's an engaging problem, but it's a problem that many people seem to have, so that discussing it and figuring it out seems to be useful. Why? Well, because the more of us who take problems seriously and try to address them and communicate about them, the fewer problems we might have and the less suffering there'll be. And suffering doesn't seem to be a good thing, unnecessary suffering. Maybe we could work towards it, and maybe that's what I should be doing. And that seems to be what's ethical, and that's it. Like,
Right.
and you might say, well, what if you doubt that doing what's ethical is right? Well, it's not that easy to construct an argument that supports the idea that having more unnecessary suffering in the world is good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I would say, you want to put yourself on firm moral foundations. And people talk about morality all the time. This is what you should do, or you're a bad person. It's arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
It's got this ring of patriarchal tyranny. But that's based on a misapprehension of what morality is. It's like, do you want to be tortured by your conscience? Like, how pleasant do you find it to be tortured by your conscience?
It's horrible.
How horrible? Like, is there anything worse?
Excruciating. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything worse. I mean,
It's up there.
You gotta live with it. Yeah. For as long as you have it.
Yeah, well, I think that's a universal experience, or near universal experience. So you live ethically when you're not violating your conscience.
Right.
Well, there isn't anything better than that. That might not be good enough. It might not even be good. Like, let's say you manage it. Things can still come along and take you out sideways. But the purpose of living ethically is so that you have some peace.
Yeah.
And it's real.
Yeah.
The ethical torment and the peace that emerges as a consequence.
Sorry, I want to interrupt.
No problem.
What is the biggest doubt you face at this stage of your life, and how are you working to overcome it?
The biggest doubt I have is whether or not I'm going to be healthy enough to continue. By far, it's a continual. It plagues me.
I went a little bit too far there, but it's an amazing point, right? You think that somehow by doing something that you know is morally wrong, sometimes might help the greater good, or might help you out of a particular situation at the moment. But the collective unconscious, if you proclaim to be, if you understand, if you have knowledge, if you see what's going on, right? If you see what's going on and you willingly and knowingly resist and do something that's like, at the expense of someone else for the greater good or whatever it is. I wanted to take a moment, put him down here, and read a passage, just a quick one, page 100 on out of Victim of the Swamp. It was, here we go. It's from my time it's actually from my time in when I was deployed in Iraq as a contractor, but it's about something else, right? That I struggled with. So hear me out here. Living in a war zone was like starting to take a toll on me emotionally, and it was really struggling mentally with an incident that happened in Afghanistan. I wasn't sleeping well at all, which was not helped by the stress of mortars and the constant sound of combat helicopters and aircraft taking off and landing. I think it was about this time that my personal issues, which I now understand as likely being post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, was starting to affect my marriage. I began waking up at nights with images in my head from dreams that looked like mannequins scattered across a field with their arms, legs, and other plastic mannequin parts separated from their actual bodies by a few meters. They were all melting and on fire. I would awake from this dream every time, and I would approach what I was sure were these plastic figures on the ground burning. People don't fall apart and burn like that, right? As I would approach the small objects on the ground, much like you would view something from those in the augmented reality goggles, I realized these were children. Their arms and legs were separated from their torso, from the force of the blast and burning from the heat of the explosions. In my nightmares, I see their faces remembering over 100, then wake up and cannot fall back asleep. Fortunately, that was just a dream, right? People make tremendous sacrifices for our freedoms. We may not always make the right decisions, but when we do, if we don't address those ethically and honorably, then they're going to end up doing exactly what Dr. Peterson said, because, you have to live with these things, right? I did this. It was bad. I knew it was bad. I think I'm going to win something, but now the rest of my life I'm being haunted by terrible decisions that I made or was part of. John Roberts, I did an interview about him the other day with some emails that I received from a White House staffer during the Trump administration. Pretty much, you can't, I've verified these to the extent it was given to me by the person I know was the actual White House staffer, somebody that actually received that email. I have no reason to believe that there is a problem with the authenticity of this document. And this shows right here that John Robertson and Julian Turner, I believe, Julian Turner, go back and play the thing that I did the other day. And you heard me get so frustrated with that, right? I get so angry. I get so angry when people abuse these powers. Let me put this up, give you an example here. Because I'm telling you, as significant as this is, as in your face as this is, as White House abuse, press credential abuse, nepotism, whatever you want to call it, it's in your face. It's right there. But I think a lot of these journalists are just simply afraid, right? Let me put this up here real quick. I just read that about the same time, actually at the same time, the time that I was referencing there, when I was in Baghdad, this was a letter from my daughter, Mia. She was about maybe 9, maybe 10. When she wrote this: "Thank you for help, dear Dad. Dad, thank you for helping me with my science project. I'm totally going to get an A+. I'm kind of sad that you were going away, but I know we will be able to get to see you every few months. I will still miss you so much, but every time you go away, you always say, 'Be Daddy's big girl.' Well, I love you so much. Love you." And she made little American flags. "I love you, Dad." right? It's a beautiful thing. But why are journalists afraid? Well, they're afraid of people like this. Jonathan Riches, who he fabricated this right here. Absolutely fabricated that. No question. Never a babysitter. My wife took care of the kids all the time I was gone, and all the time she was 10 years old. I was either in Afghanistan on a contract with SOFA, signed, stamped passports, or I went straight over to Korea, where maybe 3 or 4 months after I got there, my first wife filed for divorce. It sucked. People make a lot of sacrifices. I have my life. I have my health. People, I know a very good friend of mine, Fred, whom this guy attacked here. 3-time Purple Heart recipient. He attacked Fred because Fred was just merely associated to me, helping me out with a veterans nonprofit thing I'm doing. These people are scum. And they go after journalists. Absolutely. They will go after journalists left and right. Hey, I didn't prepare this. But boy, if I could pull this up real quick, let me tell you what. If I could pull this up, let me do a quick change, sort by type, and see if I can find it here at the very bottom, because it is a video that I would love to play. No, I don't have it right here. This is a image of it. This is where what's his name, Cernovich, Mike Cernovich, was literally talking about how he had blackmail on journalists, threatening journalists if they said anything bad about Steve Bannon, right? Because Trump was going to fire him. And so these guys, these little assets, went on the attack. This guy, Jonathan Riches, fabricated everything about this. Babysitter, this SMS message is completely fabricated. That never could have happened or never even possibly could have existed. Now, a journalist, I'll put that right out there. I'll put my honor and integrity over these pieces of crap. This guy literally spent a decade in federal penitentiaries for wire fraud, for phishing scams, stealing money, what amounts to stealing money from defenseless little ladies. And he was so uncooperative, he ended up spending, according to him, over half of his time in solitary confinement. This guy is freaking mentally broke, but yet he's a key asset. He's one of the key figures in these events. He's a sergeant of arms for, this is the person that did this, is a sergeant of arms for General Flynn. Person that did this, sergeant of arms for, what is that? Born to Ride for 45, which handles the security events for Flynn and all of them that are doing these speaking tours. Powell, all of them. They won't say anything. Journalists won't report it because they're afraid. They're afraid this is going to happen to them. They're afraid they're going to get arrested like Millie Weaver. The collective unconscious, God, will correct the lies. ShatterNet was a application I helped pioneer to basically project manage lies, utilizing the new technologies related to social media, social networks, SMS, all of that. God doesn't like lies. He doesn't like omissions. He gives us dreams. We're supposed to follow our dreams. when we embed lies into our dreams, when we build foundations, when we build our dreams from foundations of lies, no matter how innocent they may be, no matter how you justify it, the collective unconscious is going to fix it. It's going to correct it. And until you understand that and recognize that, our country is just going to get worse and worse. This is we're dealing with this in our personal lives. We're dealing with this with the journalists, the press corps. Our country has lost its morality. And we need to get it back. If we don't, God's going to take care of everything, but it may not be in a way that you like. And I guarantee you, I'm telling these journalists right now that know the truth and don't report it, this is going to come back to haunt you. It already is. When people like John Roberts, Jillian Turner violate freedoms of press for their own personal profit and gain, or worse yet, conducted like by their puppet masters in the military-industrial complex with their own malevolent plans. When this happens, it just destroys everything. It destroys the integrity of all journalists, the good journalists out there. Even though they're afraid, if you think not reporting something, if you think these omissions of truth are going to somehow protect you when you try to sleep at night, or when these malevolent bastards end up turning our country into just a socialist wet dream, and your kids are screwed, and your job is gone, because there is no freedom of press left. The Biden administration went in and fixed that. Hell, the press club fixed that. I think every one of those people in there, if they don't immediately step up and speak about this, every single person within earshot of this should demand for their resignations. But yet we don't. Here we are. Even with all of our sacrifices, even with all of our nightmares, all of our best of intentions, all of our mistakes, we can't seem to get this one right. That's unfortunate, my friends. That is unfortunate. I'm going to end this tonight with a little bit of going out music there. How long did we go? 23 minutes? Shit, this was supposed to be 10. I'm going to try to keep putting these out. I need your help to get these out. I can't sit here and do this. I got bills here with this office, the equipment, the streaming, the blah, blah, blah. Not to mention, my time's committed to this. I live off 70% VA PTSD, about $1,700 a month. Do the math. You can look it up online. And I put a lot of that, what doesn't go to my kids, ends up going to, largely ends up going into this. So any support or help I can get, you do that. You keep your encouragement, your DMs, everything. These things are hugely helpful for someone like me. Because this stuff is really tough. That stuff that Jonathan Riches does. Think of how tough it is on Millie being arrested. Oh my God, right? And where were these journalists? Where were these people? They're nowhere to be found. They think they're somehow protecting themselves, but they aren't. We need to speak up. Call into their talk shows. Say, listen, have you heard about what are your thoughts? What is your opinion about John Roberts, the John Roberts emails. Force this conversation. Because if we don't, the whole system is going to fall apart. If it's not too late already, but I don't believe it is. Thank you very much. Good night, and God bless.